Hello, good morning. I'm sorry, afternoon, I guess it is, isn't it? Depending on what time you are listening or watching this. Welcome. Hey, friend, are you a woman who wants to conquer your fear of failure so that you can finally follow through with God's plan for your life? If so, you are in the right place. Maybe you're a person who is ready to say enough is enough to the masks that we wear and shed the fear that is hiding the gift of the real you that you are created and called to share with this world. So, welcome to Women Created and Called Live. I am your guide on this journey from fear to follow through. Beth McGrain Tran, and I want to welcome you. Today we are talking about the crosses that we carry. If you are listening to this live, you know that it's Holy Week. So as I'm recording this, so it is Holy Week, and I actually had planned to talk about something else this week. And then I was sitting at Mass on Sunday and listening to the homily, and I thought, I think I need to change my topic this week. And we'll do what I was going to talk about next week. And it all worked out so beautifully. And it actually it kind of felt like the Holy Spirit was kind of lining everything up in its proper place just perfectly. So that's what we're talking about today, the crosses that we carry, because we are, when you think about the crosses that we carry in our life, it turns out there are two different types, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a few examples that you think might fall under one category of a type of cross that we carry, but actually they're the other category. So there's a few things that feel like they're one but they're actually the other. Anyway, I will get to that in a second. So we're going to talk about the types. Like I said, we're going to talk about some examples of crosses that we carry. And then what in the world do we do with them? Because Jesus told us it was in the Gospel of Luke, to pick up your cross and carry it and follow him. So that's what we're supposed to do with it. How does that look in everyday life? How exactly do we go about doing that? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's dive in. Okay, so first, these couple of different types of crosses that we carry. Now, I got this idea I actually heard Father Mike Schmitz refer to these two different types of crosses. And I thought that was a really interesting way of looking at them, because he's absolutely right. And so I wanted to share that with you in case you hadn't heard that concept before. So the first kind of cross is ones that we have chosen, and he had another word for it, but we're just going with the first type is crosses that we have chosen in our life. So some examples of these, what these might be related to are like marriage. And maybe we don't want to think about marriage as a cross, but it's not always sunshine and daisies and rainbows. It's not always, right? Our vocation always has some struggles to it. So marriage is one example of that. And another one might be parenthood. And another one might be religious life. Also, maybe your vocation as far as your career goes might have some crosses involved. Another one might be, maybe you have committed to volunteering on a regular basis, and maybe there's a few crosses involved with that. And also, if you're leading a ministry, whether it be volunteered or not, there's definitely some crosses that come along with that one too. So these are all, possibly considered vocations, but there's also crosses whenever you are stretching yourself in some way to grow, and maybe you're learning something new. It's not always an easy thing to do, is it? So that's another example. Also, some crosses come along with teaching others, especially if you are teaching or raising your children in the faith. There's definitely some crosses that come along with that. So all of these are crosses that we have chosen. You chose to get married. You chose to enter religious life. You chose to volunteer. And these are all wonderful things. But like I said, there's very often going to be some kind of suffering involved in that. And that's okay. So the other type of crosses that we carry would be ones that are not chosen. So I know, simple names that I've given to these two categories, chosen or not chosen. There you go. So some examples of crosses that are not chosen. Maybe you have a sickness. Maybe you're carrying a cross that's related to a sickness of someone else that you love. Maybe it's the sickness of a child. Another example would be maybe you have special needs in your family, either for yourself, your spouse, your children, a parent. Whenever there are special needs and, extra things that need to be done on a daily basis, these are daily crosses that we carry. Another example would be like a mental or emotional struggle that you deal with on a consistent, daily basis. That would be another example of a cross that you didn't choose. And yet, here you are with it, carrying it every day. And another example would be temptations or attractions that you face on a regular basis. Again, those just kind of show up. They do. We're all tempted in some way, frequently. And that, especially if it's a specific one that shows up all the time on a regular basis, like I said, that is definitely a cross that you didn't choose. And yet it's part of your daily experience. Another example is when we see suffering in the world. So maybe this isn't something that really affects you directly, but you notice, how it affects your own life when you see suffering in the world. It does affect you. Absolutely. So that's another example of a cross that you didn't choose, but there it is. So I want to share with you a little bit of it's so interesting that this topic was coming up today. And then I woke up with a migraine, or at least a headache that, if you can relate to this, if you ever suffer with migraines, you can relate to how you might just wake up with a headache, but it's that certain kind that kind of, you just know that it has the potential to really turn into a full-blown migraine. So that is what I woke up with this morning. Another one of those examples of, I didn't choose it, but here it is. So I was thinking about this morning, and actually, when I realized, I actually woke up with this additional cross today, and I thanked Jesus for it. because I knew that having this experience today, this morning, was going to help me be able to serve you much better from my own experience. It actually helped me think through, okay, what are the steps that I take when I'm facing this cross, when it's given to me on any given day? And they do happen, somewhat frequently. So I thought about it. And so here is 4 steps that I came up with. And, there might be a couple different pieces to a step or two here, but basically 4 steps to help you know what to do with these crosses. So as I said, Jesus tells us to pick up our cross daily and carry it. So the very first step is to acknowledge that what you are experiencing in your life is a cross. Acknowledge and recognize that it is a cross, and then decide if you're going to accept that cross. Sometimes we're given that cross and you are like, I don't want it. I don't want this cross. I am going to ignore it. Maybe I'm going to pretend it's not there, that it's not, something that I need to deal with. And I'm going to go over here and do something else instead. So that sometimes is a way that we deal with these crosses. And it's actually not helpful because it's still sitting there waiting for you to accept it. And it always comes back in some way. So it's not a helpful thing for you to ignore that this cross has been given to you. So talk with Jesus about it. He can relate. He had a cross given to him. He didn't want it. And yet he did accept it. And when he prayed in the garden to his Father, he said, if it's possible, take this cup from me. And yet, not my will, but your will be done, he said to the Father. Because he recognized in that moment, it wasn't just about what he wanted or needed. There was a much greater reason for him to accept that cross, to drink from that cup, as he put it. So, talk with Jesus about it, I see that cross there. And see what he tells you. He can relate. Then the second step would be, okay, I recognize that this cross is now part of my life, whether it be for a day, whether it be for a season, whether it be something that I am going to be picking up daily for the rest of my life. It's there. And I've accepted it. I'm choosing to accept this cross. Then the next step is to prepare. Okay, so it's there. What am I going to do with it? My suggestion is that first you breathe. When you acknowledge that there's something new that's going to be a struggle in your life, take a moment to breathe. Because it actually does something in your body where it shifts you between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Taking a deep breath physically makes a difference and helps you be able to handle whatever is coming up. So the next part, after you breathe, think, what do I need right now? Of course, really all you need is Jesus, right? Because he will make this burden light and make it easy to carry. But in addition to that, think about what are the things that you need? And I would say there are 3 pieces to this. Start with your spiritual needs. Again, Jesus is what you need to help you carry this cross. He's got experience at it. He knows how to do this. So start here. Imagine, if you will, that you're looking at a map or a maze. I was thinking of like the mazes that I used to love to do when I was a kid. And then, when my children were young, we used to do mazes. And very often, the first thing you have to do is to figure out, where am I starting? And so sometimes there's a big place where it says start here. So this is what I'm telling you. Your spiritual needs, start here. This is the place to start. Start with prayer. And really, we already have, right? And that first step, when we're acknowledging and recognizing that there is a cross that you are invited to accept and pick up and carry, talk to Jesus about it, like I said. So we're starting here with your spiritual needs. Then the next needs to address are your physical needs. Do you need sleep or rest in order for you to really be able to pick up this cross on a daily basis and carry it? Pay very close attention to how much sleep you're getting. And if you can't get actual sleep, at least where are the places in your day, in your week? Sorry, there was just a little noise over there. Where are the places where you are intentionally getting rest? And the other physical needs, of course, are, do you need food? Do you need water? But I want to go back here just for a quick second and talk a little bit more about that rest piece. Because I have been seeing lots of women who are dealing with just so much going on in their life right now. And sometimes it's a child or 2 or 3 that have been getting up in the night and you're not getting enough sleep. Sometimes it's that you have something going on in this season, like maybe you're moving. I just did that last year. Oh man, yes, it takes so much work. And you feel like you're going, and there's always so much more to do. And maybe you are, trying to meet a deadline. Maybe there are things that you need to get done by a certain date, and you're feeling like, I can't rest right now. I have to keep going until I have this completed. So those are a few examples. If you are in a season like that, and even if you're not, look at your calendar. Look at your schedule, either for the day or for the week, for the month, whatever it is. Get out your calendar, and here's what I want you to do to help with this. Choose a date or a time in the very near future, just as near as possible, when you will intentionally rest. Maybe it's taking a nap. Maybe it's having a hot bath or a shower. Maybe it's meeting a friend for coffee. It can be, lots of different things, but it should be something that is relaxing and possibly very fun. Something that you're going to look forward to. And here's why this is so important. Because when we are going all the time and not resting, you are going to feel even more tired because you're telling your brain you've got to keep on going and there is no end in sight. And your brain is going to resist keeping up and keep doing the work because there's no end in sight. Whereas if you can, show your brain, hey, it's almost like you're talking to your inner self, right? Something like that. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it actually really makes a difference. So if you are showing your brain, oh, there's this time coming up, it's on the calendar, that's super important. Put it on the calendar. It's on the calendar, and I am committed to following through with that appointment. Pretend it's a doctor appointment or whatever is something that you never, ever miss or cancel. You have that appointment on your calendar and you are committed to keeping it. So you're going to show your brain, I got you. I got you. I promise we will rest. Now, if you are a person who in the past has not followed through with your commitments, your brain is going to try and say, I don't believe you. You haven't followed through in the past. You're not really going to rest. So it can take a little bit of convincing, maybe convincing yourself that you actually have your own back. And how about this? What if you share that you have made that appointment on your calendar with somebody that you love? Someone who can help you stay accountable. And here's the thing. If you have a pattern of not doing this in the past, it just takes practice. So commit to it and keep that appointment. And that will be, the more often that you do that, that will begin to show your brain that you can trust yourself to actually follow through with your commitments. And it will get easier and easier as you practice that. So this is true for lots of things. I'm talking about it right now in the context of resting. It's so important to rest because if you don't, you will have a much harder time dealing with all of the stuff that's happening in your everyday life. All of those crosses that you are called to pick up and carry will be much harder if you haven't taken care of yourself physically with that rest. And as I said, food, water, make sure you're getting great nutrients, make sure you are getting enough water intake each day, and it makes all of the other things much easier. So I know that was kind of a lot to talk about rest, but it is so important that I just had to share that piece with you. So the third piece of looking at what do I need right now in order to really carry these crosses well. The third piece is your mental and emotional needs. Now, I sort of touched on that a little bit as I was talking about rest, because there's a lot of, things happening mentally as far as, trusting yourself to follow through and showing your brain evidence that you actually will keep those commitments. So that is definitely part of taking care of your mental needs. But also, do you need a friend to talk to? about these crosses that you're carrying? Do you need a mindset shift? Are you thinking of these crosses in a way that is not serving you well, that is not helpful to you? Do you need professional support? Someone to show you how you are thinking about it, because sometimes we don't even notice our own thoughts. That happens frequently. It actually takes practice to be able to recognize how you are thinking about the different circumstances in your life. So getting professional support can help you, can show you how you are thinking about these situations, and also can help you process those thoughts and feelings in a way that is really very healthy and serves you well. Because when you're able to do that, then you will be empowered to choose differently when you need to. So here's what I mean by this. So, for example, let's go back to, the example of this migraine that I have today. Yes, it's still here. I'm carrying it today. Even though I have taken the steps, to take care of the physical needs. I checked on how much water have I had, did I have some food, the different physical things. And I started with the spiritual needs. I prayed about it. I thanked God for this migraine today. But then let's look at the mindset piece, so that I can look at how I'm thinking about it and see if there is a need for a shift in how I'm thinking about this cross. So at first this morning, I was thinking, uh-oh, I need to go live today. How am I going to really be ready to serve people well with this migraine? So that was, for me, that was actually very brief. And the reason is because I have actually done this before. I have gone live, did a little interview with a migraine. And the person who interviewed me, I told her about the migraine later, and she said, I had no idea. You showed up, you were responsive, you had energy, all of these things. Well, I can tell you that came from checking my mental and emotional needs before I did that interview. That's where that came from. So this morning, I could have thought, I'm not feeling well. I am going to put a message up saying that the podcast won't be live today, and I can record it later when I'm feeling better and then post it. I certainly could have done that. Nobody would blame me. Probably. But that's not what I chose. Instead, I shifted my thinking. So this is where the choosing differently comes in. Because it's really cool. We can actually choose our thoughts. Yes, there are lots of involuntary thoughts that come into our heads 24/7, right? Lots of involuntary thoughts. But as I said, we can look at those thoughts that we're thinking, and it's possible to choose other thoughts. Now, this isn't, like a toxic positivity thing. This does not mean that if we are thinking something and feeling something that's really hard, that we're ignoring those feelings, ignoring those thoughts, and not processing them, that's not helpful. But when we acknowledge them and we actually process them, then we have an opportunity. Okay, is that a thought that I want to keep? And if it's not, I can choose something else. So this is what I have done today and why I am able to show up live and talk with you now. So it was more like a thought of sort of a thought of I get to show up, I get to serve anyone who comes across this video, and I will do my best. I will do what I can to take care of myself physically and go from there. And I know that Jesus is helping me through it. He's helping me carry it. And it's fine. It's fine. And so because I think that, then I feel differently about it. Has the migraine gone away? No, not quite yet. But I feel empowered. I feel love. I feel that I can be in service. That's not technically a feeling. But I feel a sense of magnanimity. Magnanimous would be the actual adjective to describe the feeling. And that means that there is something greater that I am called to do, and it's greater than the discomfort that I'm feeling. And because I feel that, then I take different actions. So that is an example of the, how you can look at your mental and emotional needs as you prepare to carry your crosses. Now, the third step is just to pick it up and carry it. Now, I was thinking about this. I shared with you the scripture quote that Jesus says, pick up your cross. I may not have the words exactly. I apologize. I don't have it in front of me. Pick up your cross and carry it daily. And again, this is from the Gospel of Luke. Now, I was thinking about that. The word carry implies that you are moving from where you are. He did not say, hold it, as far as I know. He did not say, pick up your cross and hold it. Hold it would imply that you're just standing there. You're not moving. No, he said carry it. So when I think about this, I think about, okay, there's a struggle in my life. Maybe it's a migraine. Maybe it's something, more ongoing. And I'm being called to pick up that cross, take it with me, and move forward anyway. And move forward anyway. And this reminds me of the virtue of fortitude. Fortitude is one of those virtues where it's related to fear. It's somewhat similar to courage, but it's a little bit different. Because fortitude means that you see that there is something to be fearful about. And you choose to go anyway. You choose to go headlong, or how do they say that? Just charge. Charge into it anyway. That's what fortitude is. And this feels similar because you are picking up that cross and you're moving with it. You are carrying it. Now, think about Jesus as he carried his cross. He was not running. It was a heavy burden. He was moving slowly, and that's okay. He still got there. So Jesus tells us that the crosses that we carry, that we share with him, will be light, that his burden is light. And that's the only way that it can be light, is when we share it with him. What do I always say? I feel like I say this every episode of this podcast. We're naturally given gifts when we're created. And then in every moment of every day, God's grace is available to help us do whatever he is calling us to do. To help you act, to help you pick up that cross and carry it. That's what God's grace is for. And he is so merciful. It's available, and he gives it even when we haven't earned it. That's the grace part. And even when we don't deserve it. That's the mercy part. Grace and mercy go hand in hand. Two sides of the same coin. It's all God's love. So, his burden is light. And this, picking up the cross and carrying it and moving forward anyway, is our path to sanctity. This is how we cooperate with God's grace and mercy. We actually choose to accept the cross, and we pick it up and we carry it. Now, again, think about, as we look at step 4 here, think about Jesus carrying the cross. He stumbled, and you will too. It's inevitable. There will be times when we want to ignore that the cross is there. There will be times when you're trying to carry the cross and you just fail. But we need to do what Jesus did, which is to get up again. I love this image that I believe I heard it from, it comes back to me all the time. I believe I heard it from Mother Angelica on one of her shows. She was talking about the difference between a sinner and a saint. And she said that the sinner will be going along, will fall down in a mud puddle, and will just sit there. Just stay stuck in the mud. And they will feel sorry for themselves. They will feel like a victim. I don't know if she said all of these pieces, but this is all part of this image. They will feel like a victim. They will feel like somebody put that mud puddle right in my path. Somebody caused me to fall. And they will sit there and feel sorry for themselves. The saint will say, oh, I fell. And they will get up and they will keep walking and they will go get themselves cleaned up so that they can go on their way. So this is the fourth step of what to do with your crosses. That fourth step is when you fall, when you stumble, don't stay stuck in the mud. Get up. And I love to use the phrase, take a spiritual shower and clean off all of that mud. Because think about it. Have you ever walked through mud that was maybe not so thin, but it was really thick? And as you walk through this mud, hopefully you have boots on, but as you walk through this mud, you notice that more and more and more is piling onto your feet and your legs. And suddenly your steps become very, very heavy because it just keeps piling on. So when you find that you have fallen into a mud puddle, metaphorically, or you have fallen as you are carrying your cross, acknowledge it. Okay, I failed. I have fallen. And now I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a spiritual shower. Now, for a Catholic, this means that you get yourself to the sacraments, especially confession, because there you encounter Jesus, who is waiting to heal you and to give you the graces that you need to keep going. It's amazing. And this is Holy Week. It's the last week of Lent. There's no better time. If you have not been to confession yet, to reconciliation, it's called both. If you have not been yet this Lent, don't miss your opportunity, because there's something extra special about it when you experience it within this season. And to have that spiritual shower before we go through Holy Thursday and Good Friday, and we experience those in the liturgy, it will help you experience those liturgies in a new way. So just a little plug there. If you haven't, go do it. That's your chance to take your spiritual shower, rinse off that heavy, heavy mud, and then you're still carrying that cross, right? Because you chose it. You chose to accept it. So just take one step, and then take another step, and then another one. And before you know it, you will be there. As I said, this is the path to sanctity. Jesus said, pick up your cross and carry it. He didn't say ignore it and leave it on the side of the road. So there was something I just remembered that I feel like I forgot to say. And let me just think for a quick second. I promised you at the beginning that at the beginning we talked about these two different types of crosses, the ones that we choose and the ones that we don't choose. And there are some that actually are ones that we think we didn't choose, and yet we actually did. So these would be sort of in the case of when you made a choice, and then maybe it wasn't a great choice, but we're not going to judge what the choice was. But then it results in a consequence of that choice that you didn't want. But you actually, as I said, you did choose it because of the choice that it started with. So sometimes our choices result in a cross that we then need to carry. And it might look like we don't want this cross, we didn't choose it, but you actually did. So an example might be when you do something foolish, like, okay, I don't know, this is what's coming to mind. Let's say that a person, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, there's a really loud noise outside. It's so great. Isn't live video great? Okay, so let's say that a person decides that they're going to go out and have too much to drink, and then they choose to get behind the wheel of a car. And in this example, maybe they get into an accident on the way home and it leaves them paralyzed. Maybe they have lost the use of their legs for the rest of their life. This might look as like a really hard cross that we didn't choose. It's not like it's something like a vocation that you decided that this is the vocation that you're going to choose. It's a really big struggle that you're dealing with for the rest of your life. And here's the thing, is that you can look at that, like if it were you can look at that and think, I'm a victim. Or you can practice responsibility and you can think, I made the choice to drink too much and I made the choice to get behind the wheel. Thank God nobody else got hurt. But now I am carrying a cross that I chose because of that was the result of a previous choice. So that's a really, a physical example. But there can be other ones like, sometimes, I talked earlier about how we can choose different thoughts. Very often our results in our life can come from a thought that we chose. Remember how I said we have some thoughts that come into our heads and they're just coming at us all day long, day and night. And very often we're going to kind of dismiss a lot of them, but sometimes we hang on to a thought that is not necessarily going to serve us very well. And when we look at that thought and we examine it and we hold it up to truth and we decide, okay, is this true? Once we have examined whether that thought is true, then comes the decision part. That's when you get to choose whether you're going to keep that thought or not. After it has been processed with the feelings that are coming from that thought and the actions that have been coming from that thought. So again, you get to choose whether you're going to hang on to it or not. And sometimes if we choose to hang on to that thought that's not serving us well, it can result in a cross that we didn't want, but we did choose it. So I just wanted to go back and touch on that a little bit. So I just want to remind you, that's basically what I've got for you today as far as what the crosses that we are carrying on a regular basis. I just want to encourage you that if you are facing some heavy circumstances in your life, that you are carrying some crosses that are really a struggle. Like I said earlier, please check in on your spiritual needs, your physical needs, and your mental emotional needs. And if you would like support in any of these areas of looking at how you can better carry these crosses in your life, life coaching is a big help for that, a big support. So if you would like support and like to chat about it, even just sometimes just getting it off your chest, just recognizing the crosses that you are facing on a regular basis. If you would like to chat about it and see how I might support you, just go to the link in the description of this video and of this episode, I should say, in case you're listening to it on audio, and let's chat about how I might be able to support you. So that is it for this week. Next week, I will be back with another episode. And this one is going to be also very special. I feel like they all are, but this one's going to be really exciting. I actually have a free gift to share with you. And I believe it will be all set and ready to release to you in time for the podcast episode next week. So until then, I pray that you have just a wonderful Holy Week this week. I pray that it is full of grace and blessings. And speaking of grace, try to be really present to the moments that are happening this week. And anytime in your life, of course. But there are some really special moments in store for you this week. Practice being present for them. And that means doing your best to put away the things that you know typically distract you from being present. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's maybe it's food. Maybe it's all kinds of different things. But the more that we practice being present, the more that we are able to look for God's grace in those moments. Because I promise you, in every single moment of every day, God's grace is available. It takes practice to learn how to look for it and receive it. And on a future episode, we're going to talk about, things that can block us and prevent us from seeing the grace in those moments. But right now, just practice being present and looking for God's grace in the moment. When things are getting chaotic around you, which can easily happen during holiday times, just take a breath. Again, that's the place to start, right? Take a breath and ask, God's gift is in this moment. Where is the gift? Help me see the gift. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you see it. And you will, because it's there for you. So that's my prayer for you this week. I pray that it's full of grace and blessings. And until next time, God bless you and all those that you love. Bye.